Fantasy football podcast called Living the Stream comes to you each week. Streaming recommendations during NFL season, it's not just tongue-in-cheek. Quarterback, defense, tight end recommendations based on opposition matchup. Here are your podcast hosts, JJ Zacharyson and Danny Carter, living the stream.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Living the Stream. I'm JJ Zacharyson, the late round quarterback, and as always, I'm joined by my surprised co-host and lovely Danny Carter. Danny, what's going on, buddy?
You actually just caught me kind of moving and grooving to the theme song, which we now have. We used to record it without the theme song. I went years without hearing that song, and I can't help but move and groove to the song as it plays now.
Yeah. I mean, look, so little do you know, Denny, when I hit the button to play the intro, because we're live streaming on YouTube, as a lot of you guys know at this point, through the late round fantasy football YouTube channel. And Denny, when I hit the screen, right, for it to play the intro, I can still see you.
Oh no.
So I saw you. Denny took off his shirt and was waving it around like a helicopter. Like the song. He was very, very into the theme
song. Took off my pants. I actually think I can sue you now.
Yeah. I did start an OnlyFans account already for you. Yeah, on your behalf.
Well, there you go. It's a good start to the show.
Very good start to the show. What are we talking about to start today's show, Denny? Do you have anything on your mind?
We didn't mention that so much. I did want to get your thoughts here on something I posted about earlier today, which is Sean Payton saying that he needs to do something to get the plays in more quickly to Russell Wilson. Reduce the verbiage was the phrase that was used. This is the same problem, by the way, that Nathaniel Hackett had with Russell Wilson. And the issue stems from Russell Wilson being unable to stop giving pep talks in the huddle.
That's amazing. Amazing.
So he's continuing to do it. You gotta just stop that, Russ. If you're listening, you gotta just stop.
That is honestly like the guy cannot turn it off. He has no idea how to turn off leadership. Like he has this there's he's like a robot, and there's like 4 modes to his body, and one of them is leadership mode, and he cannot turn off leadership mode.
He will not stop trying to motivate people as if he is a motivational speaker in the huddle with the play clock ticking. I mean, it's going down, it's winding down. You got to get up. You got to get up there. You got to diagnose the defense. You got to call an audible. Maybe you got to do something. Stop trying to be a motivational speaker in the huddle.
I feel like of all human beings that are in my life, you're the one human being that probably would loathe motivational speakers the most.
Oh man, yeah. I mean,
right?
I actually the whole idea is just beyond me. I'm not sitting here trying to judge people who watch Tony Robbins, I guess, or people like that and say, hey, I'm into this. But for me, I get my motivation, I guess, elsewhere. But if my quarterback was there being like, called to play, and then, oh, hey, guys, believe in yourselves. Believe. This is apparently what he says. Believe. I would say, Russ, you gotta shut it, man. You gotta shut it. We got to get up to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think that I would be better like if I were a teammate of a quarterback, if I was in that huddle, right? I would be more motivated by I'm sure Brady's a pretty good motivator because he's just like so hyper focused, right? Like if we're being realistic here, right? Someone who's just showing by example is so hyper focused, is so just do your job, that kind of mentality, not in a mean way. That's motivating inherently, right? Not this like over the top, just out of control. And that's honestly like I get that. You know Gary Vaynerchuk, the media guy, he has this media empire now, and he's been vlogging basically his life for the last decade. And he has some good ideas, and he's a really smart marketer and all this kind of stuff. But there are times where I'm just like, this is too much. The way that you're it's the grind mentality. It's all of that. And it's just too much for me to handle sometimes. Right. I actually think that one of the more motivating quarterbacks in the league might be someone like Baker Mayfield.
Really? Why
Because
Baker,
because he's fun. right?
Okay.
Like he seems like he'll talk junk and it would be funny, right? I bet you he cracks jokes in the huddle
You're
constantly.
right.
Like
Yes.
he keeps people loose, and that's why if he were good, right? If he were like he's been fine to start the year, of
Yeah,
course,
sure.
but if he were actually good, I feel like he could have gone very far with his career if he ended up just being a decent quarterback, like skill wise.
Yeah. I still credit Baker Mayfield for having multiple national ad campaigns based on him despite not being good.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that's incredible. Good job for Baker. I see what you're saying, but also for Russell Wilson, does he not understand that as professional athletes, there is an inner motivation that motivation comes from within? That these guys did not get here by getting pep talks constantly. I'm sure there were pep talks, but
Right.
these guys are super motivated physically, mentally, in all ways. He's got to ease off the gas. Stop pretending to be what your idea of a professional quarterback just for 1 minute.
Well, not only that, but it would also be different if the results have been not the way they've been the last few years, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If Russ were if Tom Brady were doing the Russ thing, or if Peyton Manning were doing the Russ thing, which I don't think that they ever were doing the Russ thing, but if they were doing the Russ thing, then that's basically becoming I'm saying that so often, Russ thing, that it's become one word, Russ thing. It's just it's now going to be part of the dictionary next year. But like the fact that he hasn't produced has to be just ungodly tilting if you're Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton.
Yes, right. Yeah, but like you gotta shut up. Gotta shut up and throw us the ball, man, and we'll get it done. But you can't sit here and try to motivate me. I don't need to be motivated. I'm a grown man.
Here's my analogy to this. It's like when you see someone in an industry, any industry, our industry, maybe you're in tech, wherever, and you see someone make a thread on Twitter and say, these are the things that help me out to become successful, and they're not successful. Denny, that's a crazy eye roll that you just did. Like a very someone needs to make a GIF of that. That's an insanely. Do you say GIF or GIF, by the way?
GIF.
Yeah, it's GIF, right? I mean, it's technically GIF. Didn't the creator call it GIF? But GIF is a peanut butter, so we can't.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But I'm rolling my eyes because yes, I've seen those. Like here's how I got an article published on my own blog.
Yeah, right. Like this is what I did whenever it's like okay, like how many people in an industry have made it, right, and are making those threads? Zero of them, at least not many of them. And eventually you just become a multi almost billionaire like Gary Vee, and then you're just like, that's your job, is to do that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
the amount of people, like look at the fantasy space, even if you want to, and you can say all these threads that are out there, people saying like, here's what I did, and every once in a while people make them. I've made them every once in a while, but like there are people who are doing it constantly.
It's too much. It's too
much.
You gotta have a little self-awareness. By the way, I'm very happy to talk to folks who are trying to break into the industry, young folks, whatever. You come to me, DMs, emails, whatever. I've talked on the phone with some people trying to get in, and so that I'm not saying that, okay, but I am saying that there are some threads out there that are just completely void of self-awareness.
Yes, that's what I'm saying too. I've had literally hundreds of conversations with people, because I was, people were freelancing under me at Numberfire for so long, and people just hit me up, and I've had phone calls where I'm going through my spreadsheets and showing them how I set things up, all that kind of stuff. Like I'm all about, doing that and helping out as much as I can. What I'm just not about is, and look, someone said grifter is going to grift. Index of Suspicion said that in the chat. And I don't think that that's false. I think that that's a very real thing at times. I think that there's some like motivational speakers and people who are very, very good at what they do, but there are the lack of self-awareness is definitely what gets to me. And I think that just goes back to the Russell Wilson thing. He lacks the self-awareness. He does not have the self-awareness. By the way, I'm going to throw this out there. The Broncos' problems aren't on offense right now. It's not really an offensive problem.
The defense is horrible.
The defense has been horrible, and the defense has great pieces. It's just been horrible.
Yeah,
that's
it is. I do like, I've talked with young guys, especially who are trying to get into the industry, and I'm like, look, the best way you can improve yourself is to read a lot and write a lot. And I'm not just talking about like read 50 waiver wire columns. I'm talking about read some books, like,
Right.
Read and write and really get good at that. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But what about podcasting? I'm like, that comes later, man.
Yeah.
You
Well,
gotta
the
get
other
good
thing
at
too that I think that has gotten lost a little bit, and this might be like more of a boomer take or more of like well, when we came up in 2012,
Yeah.
but I think that the writing foundation can be really, really helpful for
It
then
can.
when you go into other media, because what you're doing is you're understanding how to formulate arguments, right? And so when you go on a podcast, when you do a video, what have you, you're able to formulate those things and summarize them and talk about them more intelligently and more logically. Whereas, if you don't have that foundation and you haven't really sat down and thought about how to put an article together or a research paper or research piece together, not paper, research piece together.
Right.
If you haven't done that before, then it's just going to be a mess whenever you go and hop on a podcast or something.
And before we make our own thread on how to be successful, let's talk about the week 2 streamers.
Let's talk about the week 2 streamers, shall we? We had a lot of them, like many of them. We've condensed it this week. We realized after the fact that we probably had too many streaming picks last week. Yeah. It was too many. Derek Carr, he S the B, if you will. He had 6.7 points, really bad outing for him. Jordan Love had 20.3. Sam Howell had 21.3. Mac Jones, kind of S the B too. He had 14. Wasn't a great outing for him. Tight end, we had Turd. He had 10.1. He scored a touchdown. I had him actually. I do a show with Jim Sonis every Friday on Covering. It's called Covering the Spread. It's the sports betting show that he hosts for FanDuel. And I had Turd as an anytime touchdown plus 360. And he ended up finding the end zone.
Sweet.
I also had Rashad. Rashad White was plus 155 on DraftKings whenever we locked it in. So I had him too. But he was plus 100 on every other. It was just DraftKings really had a weird number for him. Adam Troutman had the goose egg, got a lot of cardio in. Juwan Johnson, 3.3. Luke Musgrave, 4.5. Hunter Henry, 17.2. Hayden Hurst, 5. Zach Ertz, 11.6. Durham Smythe, 5.3. This is why we're condensing things. On defense, we had the Giants sucked. The Giants were bad. They had -1 point. That was very bad. Houston was a deep play. They also had -1. Detroit was a deep play. They had 0. And then the other, normal plays, Green Bay had 3. And not great. Cleveland had 7. They looked pretty good against Pittsburgh. Still lost because the Steelers defense is quite literally better at scoring points than the offense is.
Yes.
And then Tampa Bay had 17. Clearly attacking that Chicago Bears offense. We didn't even talk about the Bears offense, man. I mean,
oh God,
what a disaster. Justin Fields has had 2 designed runs in 2 games.
So they're back to this. They're back to
they're back to this. That's right. That's right. We're literally back to what do like this. I feel like it's just the same exact thing that happened last year. The same exact thing.
I thought we learned the lesson. I thought they had said, okay, hey, this guy can operate as a rusher and we're going to do that. No. They said, no, you're Marino, buddy. You're going to stand in the pocket and you're going to deliver. This is horrific. Also, did you see that clip where they have 3 guys running the same route?
Oh yeah, the offense is horrendous. And I'm not saying like I think Justin Fields like what give me the odds. I love that. I love asking you the odds. I basically give you one of these questions every episode at this point because you're always going to be way more extreme than I would be with these answers. Give me the odds that Justin Fields is starting for the Bears next year in 2024.
Oh, it's
percentage.
we're talking 5%.
5% right now. I'd probably give it like 17%.
Yeah, it's just how can they? I mean, they really do have to clean house. They have to clean. They got to get Poles out of there. They got to fire Eberflus.
It's hilarious though because Poles has an unbelievable following. It's like a cult following.
Yeah, he's terrible.
I am not. Look, I haven't been that big of a fan of some, at least a lot of his like, the ones that I can criticize more fairly because I, understand like wide receiver evaluation and stuff like that. And it's just been, and look, the worst thing that's going to happen for Chicago is if Bryce Young is a stud. That's going to be the dagger for them is that if they don't get Caleb Williams or Drake May. next year, right? So if they miss out on the sweepstakes there, and then Bryce Young ends up being, or CJ Stroud, and both of them, have shown some promise so far this year. Like they haven't been that bad, especially CJ Stroud. That is going to, or Anthony Richardson. I mean, good Lord. That's going to be an issue for Chicago and their fans for sure, because they gave up all of that for Justin Fields.
I actually posted a blueprint for how the Bears can be relevant again in the NFL. And it is to build a dome, so you're not playing in unprecedented weather events, 8 times a year. Stop saying we're going to play Bears football, because hey, guess what? Bears football sucks. Okay, there's nothing worse than Bears football. So you got to stop saying that. In fact, you got to hire people who will say the last thing we are going to do is play Bears football. This franchise sucks. It's always sucked. We're gonna get away from Bears football. We are embarrassed by our history. This is what you got to do, and then you got to get rid of Fields, Poles, and Eberflus.
There's a index of suspicion in chat said Stroud boys. But yeah, so I'm gonna throw this take then out there before we get into our week 3 streamers. I would send a trade offer for Justin Fields right now in fantasy.
Yeah.
I would, because all that's missing is rushing. That's it. That's all that's missing. He just needs to run the ball more, and they can literally just say, okay, we're going to unleash him more. This is literally where we were at last year, where everyone's saying, I don't want Justin Fields. I don't want Justin Fields. And then he became a very clear every week top 5, top 3 quarterback for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm of the belief you can get Justin Fields right now for like AJ Dillon, right? You can get Justin Fields for nothing. In fantasy, nothing significant.
All that has to happen is for the Bears to be humiliated enough and beaten up enough by the national media to let Justin Fields run 10 times a game. And I guess that could be coming.
Yeah, it could easily come, because we saw it last year. Like we've seen this exact situation unfold already. I don't know why they're operating the way they're operating. I think that they probably got a little cute. They're like, oh, we got DJ Moore now. We can just operate this way and run the offense this way. But I am fine with buying into the ambiguity when the downside is not really significant. Like, I'm not going to be mad about a bench player leaving my team. Like it's not that big of a deal. So I do think that you can throw some trade offers out there for Justin Fields right now. And then maybe you wouldn't even have to listen to our podcast, or at least skip into the questions. You can still listen to the show.
If you want to be released from the hellscape of living the stream, trade for Justin Fields.
That's right. All right, let's move on to week 3 streamers. I'll kick things off because I have 2 of the 3 quarterbacks. I'm going to start with Derek Carr. Do you love Derek Carr this week? I don't really love Derek Carr this week.
I don't love him. No.
Because the game environment, he's in Green Bay. Don't love that. If they were in the dome, I would probably feel better about Derek Carr this week. But they're in Green Bay. Green Bay has been okay defensively. They have the second best pressure rate in football to start the year. Part of that is because they played the aforementioned Bears in week 1, so they were able to get to the quarterback. Like I said, this is in Green Bay. Don't love that. But I do love the fact that the Saints have pushed the ball down the field to start the year. They're 3rd in air yards per attempt so far this season. The Packers have allowed the 3rd best completion rate on throws 15 plus yards down the field. And they faced Desmond Ridder and Justin Fields to kick off the year. Really, the Saints just need to find the end zone more. They haven't converted. They only have 3 offensive touchdowns. Their team total is over 20, so that's good enough, but it's not like the best environment in the world. I don't know if this is going to be that big of a shootout. I'm still like, I think Jordan Love is a sell in fantasy right now. A lot of his underlying metrics don't really favor him being a stud so far, these first 2 games compared to how he's performed in fantasy. And the Packers have 7 offensive touchdowns, and 6 of those touchdowns have come through the air. So that's going to regress, a little bit moving forward. And so I think that there's this idea that Love has been this unbelievable passer. His completion rate over expected is 2nd worst in the league right now, according to Next Gen Stats. And so, there's a lot of underlying metrics where I'm like, I don't know yet. Okay. I'm not saying he's going to be good or bad. I just don't know yet if Jordan Love is going to be a shootout type quarterback, or someone that we're going to be attracted to for our opposing quarterback to have a back and forth. And so all that combined makes me not overly bullish on Derek Carr this week, but he's fine.
I think Matt LaFleur is a really good play caller. I think that's what we're learning from Jordan Love. I have a piece on Roto World every Wednesday called The Regression Files, which I hope you check out. And Jordan Love is the cover guy of this week's column. So I am with you. All right. I have Matthew Stafford against Cincinnati on Monday night. I do think if Joe Burrow doesn't play here, probably hurt Stafford a little, but I don't want to get too bogged down with that. Rams have the 6th highest pass rate over expected through 2 weeks. They are running the most plays per game in the entire league through two games. I think they ran like 80 plus against the Niners this past week. And Cincinnati is allowing the 6th highest drop back success rate, folks. So they are gettable through the air. And I think the Rams will continue to air it out. So here's the thing, JJ, you could do worse than Stafford in week 3.
Especially, I mean, look, you're associating your streaming quarterback with the best wide receiver in the game too.
That's right.
Right.
Puka.
It can't hurt to have that association. By the way, going back to Jordan Love, I had a poll that I put on Twitter, and it was, who do you want rest of season, Jordan Love or Justin Fields? Who would you rather have, Jordan Love or Justin Fields?
I know we just talked. I would go Fields, actually.
Yeah, I would go Fields too. And Fields was only 42% in that poll. Jordan Love was 58%. So I think
Love's giving you nothing on the ground. Nothing.
Right. Yeah. There's just not that much upside from that perspective. So I'm with you. I would rather just go for it. You know, if you're in a super flex league or something, maybe it's a little bit different, but I do think, you know, at least in a single quarterback league, it's pretty clear cut for me. I'm going to go with the upside. The last quarterback in this group, CJ Stroud. Denny, I'm so mad that I didn't bring up CJ Stroud last week. I talked about him on my sleeper show.
I know. I heard.
I had him on the sleeper show and I didn't bring him up on this show. And that's my fault because he had a good game last week. I mean, he was, at least from a fantasy perspective, it was fine. I think the process was right there. He came through with a QB 11 performance. He's thrown the ball 44 and 47 times over the last 2 games, you know, over his only 2 games. The Texans, they're just not scoring that much. They're not that good offensively, but they're at least airing it out. They're 6th in air yards. They're 12th in air yards per attempt. They're 3rd in plays per game. They're 2nd in neutral script pass rate. I mean, there's a lot to like about what the Texans are doing from like a fantasy perspective. Jacksonville's been pretty average at getting into the quarterback this year. They're 28th in pressure rate. So, you know, CJ Stroud behind that really rough offensive line might have a little bit more time to throw, get the ball down the field. He was always like as a prospect, he was a really good intermediate ball thrower. And that's why Nico Collins is crushing right now, is because that's exactly where he's seeing those looks. And so I think that combination is going to help Stroud, is going to help Nico, is going to help him in this contest. You know, I don't love the fact that they have the 2nd worst implied team total on the slate. But that, you know, that's generally what you're going to see when there's a big underdog. Sure. You know, it's not like that shocking.
Right.
I just think the fact that they're clearly not afraid to air it out when they're trailing and they get Jacksonville in a game where they're 9.5 point underdogs. They're probably going to be trailing. That's a good sign, I think, for Stroud to see 40 plus attempts again.
I'm with you. By the way, the folks in the chat are making some good points. And one of them is that I should bring back my puka shell necklace that I wore for years and years. You remember that?
Yeah, of course I do. And I think that you should, in honor of our Lord and Savior.
Yeah, but Puka Nakua. And here's the thing, though. I was mocked relentlessly and ferociously for wearing those. And I'm not sure I can take that. So we might not do it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to tight end. Why don't you kick things off?
Yeah, sorry. I completely blanked on what we were doing. Zach Ertz, still a thing. Against the Cowboys, the Cardinals are 200-point underdogs this week. It's simple. Zach Ertz has 18 targets through 2 games. He's running almost 80% of the routes in the Arizona offense. You could do way worse. Get Zach Ertz in your lineup if you are hard up at tight end.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's seen like target share wise, he's leading the league, right? I mean,
crazy.
You could definitely do worse. Yeah. I'm going to go with Durham Smythe. Don't call me Smith. Do you think that like this is a last name where it was Smith and then his like ancestors, you know, just changed it?
Right. Well, his ancestors pronounced it like they were trying to say Smith, but they were doing it in their regional dialect. And then someone on Ellis Island was like, all right, Smythe. Got it.
Exactly. Durham Smythe, though, he is 1st in the NFL in tight end route participation so far this year.
Man.
He's seen double-digit percentage target shares in both games. Jalen Waddle might be out, probably going to be out, right? Because of his concussion.
Yeah.
This
Didn't think
week,
of that.
Iffy might be.
I would say 50-50. Yeah.
Okay. And then Miami has the 4th best implied team total. So, I mean, on paper, Durham Smythe is a quintessential streamer. In my opinion.
I mean, that route participation is insane.
Yeah.
Wow. We're very excited about that for Smythe, for old Smith.
We are.
I have Luke Musgrave. Look, it's weird because here's the thing. Musgrave is leading the Packers in route participation rates, but he's not getting any targets. So I don't really know what to tell you beyond. He's a desperation option. The Saints are a literal nightmare matchup for tight ends. So I think you're playing anybody else that we're talking about today over Musgrave.
Yeah, I think so too. I love his long-term outlook. Even
too.
when Christian Watson's back and healthy, but yeah, I think it's a tough spot right now. How about my boy Jaden Reed though? Huh?
Look great. Played him in DFS because
nice.
of your I made $11.12.
Nice. Lastly, we're gonna go with Turd Ferguson, our boy. He gets Arizona. I don't love that his route participation dropped last week, dropped by about 10 percentage points. By the way, route participation, you're going to see like different numbers on different sites or like different ways, like how you calculate it. I calculated my own, like I just take the routes from the source that I get routes and divided by dropbacks, but people are going to obviously get somewhat different numbers, but generally, and that's the same deal with even like targets and the way that like PFF looks at targets is different than other places. So regardless, there was a drop in route participation for Turd Ferguson from week 1 to week 2. But he's seen target shares of 28% and 11% over his first 2 games. He ranks in the top 5 in targets per route run at tight end. Now he gets Arizona in a game where Dallas is the 3rd best implied team total. I think he's a good play, good process play this week.
Yet you said nothing about Luke Schoonmaker.
Yeah, right.
Also
I did not.
caught a touchdown last week.
I did not. Correct.
Yeah.
They do have, I mean, and then they have Peyton Hendershot, right?
They do. They have all sorts of very complicated names at tight end for Dallas. All right, we're moving on to defenses, correct?
Yeah, do it.
All right. I have Kansas City against the Bears, folks. This is a tough one. No, it's actually the easiest call in the history of the show. I think you need to be aggressive to get the Chiefs off the waiver wire. Justin Fields is being pressured on 47% of his dropbacks, the 2nd highest rate in the league, has taken 10 sacks in 2 games. That is a lot. Chris Jones is back for Kansas City and completely wrecked the Jacksonville offense in his first game. It's going to get ugly, folks, against the Bears.
Yeah, as Jason said in the chat, sack based. Floor. Always.
The floor has never been more based on sacks than in this.
Right. That's right. I got Jacksonville against Houston. They're 9.5-point favorites. Both defenses against Houston have ranked in the top 10 so far this season. The process. I know that we talked about CJ Stroud, but if they're dropping back to pass a lot, there's opportunity for turnovers and sacks.
The process. And I have, just as a kind of a fringe option, Seattle, whose defense stinks, playing at home against Carolina. Bryce Young is being pressured on 46% of his dropbacks. That's the 4th highest rate. And the Panthers generally just stink. They just stink. So maybe you get the Seahawks in there.
All right, let's move on to question. Actually, I got to recap the picks.
Oh, there you
go. I do that every week. Yeah. Seattle, Kansas City, Jacksonville at defense. Durham, Smythe, don't call me Smith. Zach Ertz, Turd Ferguson, Luke Musgrave, Derek Carr, CJ Stroud, Matthew Stafford. I hope Jake Ferguson never knows that we have this podcast and we've just been calling him Turd. I would
like never, Jake, if you're listening, I would never call you Turd Ferguson. Okay. And I actually
not in front of your face
on my Friday stream on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel, which you can check out Fridays at 1:00. I actually tell people, you may not come on here and call him Turd Ferguson. Don't do it.
Right. You can only do it in your less mainstream shows.
My underground.
Your underground shows. First question from Twitter is from @Didymus. It says, my 5-year-old said to me, yes, ha ha ha, yes, after I told her she and I could work on a puzzle together after school today. She's learning how to read popcorn words and also looks at my phone over my shoulder. I just realized that she was referencing the sicko meme. How do I sue Elon?
Right. Yeah, she was.
The the guy in the window or whatever.
Yeah.
And says,
Oh
yes, ha
man.
ha ha, yes. So his daughter has picked up on the meme and is now saying the meme IRL.
My son like thinks in memes. Okay, like so it's just
Is
part
that
of
how
the program.
is that how these what generation is he? Is he
I have no
like
idea.
I was talking to my wife about that. I don't know what Avery is. They're probably the same, right? Because they're only like 5 years apart.
What Avery was born in 2017?
2018.
Okay,
Or
well, Xavier was 2012. I don't know, what does anybody in the chat know what you call little kids? What generation
Yeah,
little kids are from?
what's their generation? Are they Z? Oh, Gen Alpha, someone said.
Yeah, okay.
Is that real? I don't know if that's real or not. Now we're just going to spread misinformation on here.
Right. Is this a joke about like alpha males?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Oh no, we're getting alpha. We are getting alpha.
Okay, yeah, we're getting multiple alphas. So I guess that's cool. Our kids are alphas.
That works. Hey, at least we have one in the family, in the Carter family. You know.
Oh man. Next question at mana_dork. How many hot dogs is too much for dinner? No bun or anything. Got to stay GSDF. If I grill up myself a 9-ounce steak with green beans and potato, nobody bats an eye. But if I try to save a bit of money and substitute the equivalent in hot dogs, in parentheses, 6, suddenly I'm looked at in disgust.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot
There's
of
a lot of hot dogs, man. Did I tell the story? I told the story about me eating the brat, right?
At the expo.
Yeah, at the expo. And one without a bun was too many. Like just one. If you're going to sit there with a plate of, and I'm also just picturing like microwavable, the packaged hot dogs.
Yeah,
that people throw in the microwave.
yeah.
And you're just sitting there with 6 of them on your plate with green beans and potato. I'm going to say this is a bad idea. And that's, you get looked at funny because it's a weird way to consume that food.
You couldn't do 3? You couldn't do 3 hot dogs? That's
6
you
is
had to
a
have
lot.
6?
6 is a lot.
I feel like it's double the amount that you probably need.
How many hours or days does a hot dog take off your life? Did they calculate?
I think it's like 11 days per hot dog.
Yeah. Like you're literally losing like a month and a half of your life by having that dinner.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, hot dogs. I'm really not trying to insult this listener, and I will say the hot dogs are just gross.
Look, Denny. Okay, but objectively, are they gross because this is one of those things where you just want to say they're like donuts or something, where you just want to say that they're bad because you don't want to eat them and you're just telling? Because I listened to a podcast literally today on a walk. I go on walks on Tuesdays because I need that mental health break. I didn't ruck today though, and there's no rucking in the neighborhood today. I was listening to a psychologist talk about how if you just say things to yourself over and over again, that is essentially making things true to you and helping you out. Like it's like that trick where if you're nervous or something, you can just say the words out loud, I'm excited. And then you can handle that situation a lot better. You can literally just verbalize and say, I'm excited.
You can trick yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so this person, this therapist was basically saying that, right. And I feel like that's what you do with food a lot, where you tell yourself that hot dogs are bad and donuts they're objectively not bad, Denny. They taste good. They're just horrible for you.
Look, I read a book. I read one book in my life, and that was, no, I'm kidding. It's gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was about diet culture and like how it has warped our sense of food and like our making judgments, moral judgments, I should say, about food being good or bad. I'm just saying that like I eat hot dogs sometimes, but I'm always sort of grossed out with myself afterward. That's all. By the way, we have a listener named John Thomas who I think has done the research for us. Thank you, John. 36 minutes per hot dog according to CNN. That's what he says.
Well,
so
we can't trust CNN though, so that's not.
The mainstream media is lying to you about hot dogs. Right. It actually adds minutes to your life.
That's right. We also Rich said that the hot dog line was 3. I think it was a flat 3. I think that's probably a 6 is an intense number, and I don't even think that 6 hot dogs equals 1 9-ounce steak. I think that's too many. That is too many hot dogs to equal that, right? Like in terms
Yeah.
of how filling it is.
That's
Like
right.
a 9-ounce steak is not like you could crush a 9-ounce
Mm.
steak.
That's right. Yeah, easily. By the way, the book was called Fat Talk. Just if anybody
Talk.
wants to read it.
Okay. Next question at Justin White VA. When loading silverware into the dishwasher, do you load forks, for example, with the prongs down and the handle up, or vice versa? I've contended with my wife that you leave the handle up to leave the germy hands off the part that's going into your mouth, and then she left me. Am I neurotic?
No, that's the correct process. There is only one way to load utensils into the dishwasher, and that is it. Your wife is wrong. And by the way, my wife is also wrong on this issue.
So I'm gonna sound like a pretentious money making as folks thought back in week 1 when we did this show machine. But our dishwasher has a third rack, and that's where we put our silverware.
You have a third rack?
But it's not.
Who are you?
It's not the third. It's not as if like you can put cups in the third rack. It's the same size as a normal dishwasher. And there's the first rack, where you put the big stuff. The second rack where you put the cups and stuff. And then there's this tray that slides out up top where you can lay the silverware out.
Well, that sounds pretty cool, I have to say. Congratulations on the best dishwasher ever. I'm seeing some comments here. They're saying it doesn't matter, or you put them tongs up. Like, no, that's not right.
No, it matters. It definitely matters. I should say I agree, hypothetically, of course, because I just have so much money that I have a third rack. But of course the handle of the silverware has to be pointed upwards so that when you're putting the dishes away, you're not putting your sweaty palms on the part that you're putting in your mouth.
That's right. That's disgusting. So don't do that. By the way, people are saying that you have a huge rack, and hey, do you take that as you will?
Third rack by JJ Rockefeller says. As we know, fantasy football analysts are multimillionaires, so that's how we get the third rack.
The millions of us, really.
Yeah. Next question at Adrian_Charlie. Do you ever feel weird when talking about an older football player? Quote, he's getting up there in age. Meanwhile, some of us are older than that player.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I just speaking for myself, when I started doing this, I was 28 years old. So I could still look at like a 35, 38-year-old player and be like, dang, that guy's old as hell.
Yeah.
And now I'm 40. Now I've always been older than Aaron Rodgers, but people say, well, he's the oldest guy in the league, and I'm older than him. So, relax on that talk.
It is kind of weird, right? As you age, because you age, like, especially, as you get into your 30s and then now you're 40, you're at the end of your NFL career. If you were a very, very good player.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit weird when I feel this way during prospect season all the time too. When, like, I've said this before on the show, but at 35, which is where I'm at right now, I think I always forget my age. I'm 35 though. Think about these guys coming out are 22. Think about what you were like when you were 22 and what you're like now at 40, or what I'm at like at 35. I'm a completely different human being than I was at 22.
Imagine if you got like $10 million up front at 22 years old.
Yeah.
By the way,
did you watch the Manziel documentary?
No.
You should. Although I think a lot of these documentaries coming out for Netflix feel like these sports documentaries feel like Netflix getting paid to just put together really favorable stories for the subject.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And it was definitely favorable, but Johnny Manziel is the most DGAF human being I've ever seen come across all of that in my entire life, and it's one of the most entertaining. Like the dude was just like, yeah, I deserve to get this money. Because, he's not getting paid his freshman year. He wins the Heisman. He does everything for that program. Then they're selling his jersey the next year. And he's like, I got to make money. This is BS. And so he goes out and he starts selling his autograph. He starts signing stuff and selling autographs. And then the NCAA, investigated, couldn't really find any hard evidence. And remember, they suspended him for half of a game in the first week.
That was pretty funny.
And so, but he's sitting there in this documentary just saying, yeah, I did it. I did all that. We were making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm thinking to myself, like, we all say that Johnny Manziel is this immature dude, and he's immature, of course. I mean, there's definitely immaturity there, but at the same time, dude's coming out. He was the Heisman winner. He was 18 years old or whatever, and then he's just good at football throughout that. And then he enters the NFL and he's getting all this money. There's going to be the result that we saw. Like, it's going to happen. And I think that if we don't have think about yourself in that position. I probably wouldn't have gone that direction as harshly and as hard as he did, but I can at least understand, because I had plenty of people in my life and around me that were like crazy partiers and stuff.
I didn't, but I don't know what, I think I would have been ruined by the money. Like people asking me for money, like not knowing what to do with it. I mean, you don't know that. That's the thing. At 22, you don't know anything. Like you don't know anything. You think you know something, but you don't know anything. And so it is hard. It is hard to imagine. But yes, getting back to the question, man, it is wild to hear be like, oh, this guy's a little long in the tooth. And I'm like, you're talking about a 35-year-old player, man. Can you ease up on me a little bit?
Yeah. Index of Suspicion is mentioning how Manziel had people like peeing for his drug tests and stuff like that. There's an unbelievable story about his combine drug test that you guys should go watch.
Yeah,
it's I
gotta watch that thing.
Next question at KDBanks01. After 2 weeks, which player do you wish you drafted more of based solely on how fun they are to have on your team? For me, it's Bijan Robinson in the landslide. I have a lot of Bijan, fortunately. I was really high on him this season. I have him in the. I think I have him in the. No, I don't. Do I have him
in Apex? In the
listener. Oh, I have him in Apex. Yeah, I have him in Apex. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't really have many regrets this season. I think with players, the only one is I just wish that I had even more Puka Nacua because he's so fun.
Me too. So I guess I have
him in Apex too, by the way, Puka.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, I'm really upset about that, by the way.
Yeah,
man, oh man. And actually, I remember being all queued up, and I'm like, I got him right here. He's in my sights. And then you took him, and I cried for 3 hours. I have Puka in 3 of my 6 redraft leagues. Obviously, I wish I had just gone ahead and taken them in all. I also have this really great best ball team on DraftKings that doesn't have him on it. It's like one of my only ones without him on it. It's driving me nuts. What did I? And you know who I have? I have Tutu Atwell on that team.
I mean, look, Tutu's been fine. Like, he's still been good. He's still been a value. But yeah, I mean, Puka has been that dude.
Oh, he's the most important player in fantasy.
He's the most important player in football right now. Puka Nacua. The dude has 10 more targets than any other player.
That's wild.
It's absolutely wild. Like, this is also what annoying. I tweeted about this, but like the people who are like victory lapping Puka and like and I understand being excited about it. And I, like strut yourself and do whatever you got to do. Strut yourself.
Strut yourself. I'll never strut myself.
Your stuff. Do whatever you got to do. Because you deserve it. If you were on Puka and he's balling out and he's the best value in fantasy football so far this year, sure, go ahead. The thing that annoys me is always when it's like we should have seen this coming, or like, we knew it's like, no,
come on.
This is why like I have to remind people all the time, like on my show, in my Discord, even on Twitter, that when we say we like someone and that someone has somewhat of an outlier season, we cannot victory lap the outlier season. We victory lap the fact that we were on that player, period. Right? You don't victory lap that extreme of a result. That is absolutely bonkers.
I've had 3 people on Twitter tell me this past week that Puka is the reason. Stick with me here. Puka is the reason they went 0 wide receiver.
Stop.
And I said, hold up, wait. You're telling me that you based your entire redraft strategy around Puka Nacua? Is that what you're saying? And they said, yes, that's exactly what I did. And it worked. And I said, well, that was horrible process, buddy.
Yeah, right. It's just obnoxious. Like, it's fine if you like, I have Puka in a lot of leagues and I had him in my draft guide as a player to target. And so I can say I liked Puka more than consensus this year. That's all you need. You just need to like a guy a little bit more than the rest of the
just a little.
Just a little bit more. That's all you need. Just a little bit more. By the way, Matt, people are making fun of me saying strut yourself. Matt said, can I strut myself while rucking? And then
You can, but not in Ohio. You can't do that in Ohio.
you're right. That's true. I forgot they did make that illegal.
Yeah.
B-Man Kelly 5 said, I think rucking is the definition of strutting yourself. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do so many things at once on this freaking show.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to serve things up and I'm trying to host. And this is going to make me want to log out. Okay. And I'm just
Right. What the ruck is what I would say.
What the ruck, guys. Next question. At Walsh Your Mouth out. JJ, sorry for the tongue twister of a name last week. You can just call me Walsh. LOL. Okay, Walsh. But this is one of our favorite pastimes is me reading.
It is. Oh, it's the best. I love how much energy you put into it.
Yeah, I have to go into it so confidently, and the instant that I slip, it's just a disaster. If Arthur, this is a really good question. This is probably my favorite question of the week. If Arthur Smith was the manager of a chain restaurant, which one do you think he would run?
Long John Silver.
That's a really good one. You know what? Mine is so random. You know what restaurant popped into my head? And I don't even know if people listening to this have ever even heard of this restaurant because I think it closed like years and years ago. But we had one in my town growing up. It's the Ground Round. You know the Ground Round? You ever hear that?
I thought that was like a nickname for the butt. Like, man, look at the Ground Round on that guy.
It was a restaurant that in my Ground Round, I actually researched this like a month ago. In my Ground Round, we had popcorn that they would give you, and we could. now you're laughing at something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ground Round.
They gave you popcorn, and some Ground Rounds had peanuts, and there was just peanut shells all over the floor. It was a chain. It was all over, at least in the Northeast, and they had a clown at every Ground Round, and it was like. This was like, and the reason like Arthur Smith to me is someone who's probably like into like chain smoking, like very, very into like going to the bar, being in this like smoky environment, right? And that's what the Ground Round was, and that's why I immediately went. See, someone said Fuddruckers, which is another really good answer to that. Fuddruckers is very good. Ground Round and Fuddruckers kind of have the same. Oh, look, John says Ground Round still exists in Massachusetts.
And Massachusetts, I know. Hey, congratulations to you New Englanders.
And then someone said Ground Round had a killer arcade room. Exactly. They had like a claw machine and like the Ninja Turtles machine and stuff. But it was just a regular restaurant. I think that the generic answer to this, we've gotten some other, we got like Chick-fil-A here, which is probably, I don't know. I don't know if he's friendly enough for Chick-fil-A.
Oh, he's not. Are you kidding me?
I don't know if he's, Sheets MTO. Someone said Cinnabon.
By the way, the whole thing with Long John Silver is I'm convinced that it is a front for something else, maybe something seedy, because I am also convinced no one has ever been in one. Okay.
Right.
Like there's one like 10 minutes from me. I've never ever seen a single person in there. No one has ever gone to Long John Silver. And you honestly can't convince me otherwise.
It's like a mattress store. Like any mattress store has, it's always like 50%. It's got to be like a drug front or something.
No one's ever been in a mattress store. You see the commercials where people come down and they lay down on the. First of all, that's gross. Don't do that.
Right.
And secondly, no, you'll never see that because no one's ever been in one.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ground Round for the 2%ers who actually understood that that one. Oh, what about Cracker Barrel?
No, not friendly enough. They're very friendly.
Yeah. Too friendly at Cracker Barrel, Chick-fil-A, too friendly. The one that actually popped into my mind also was TGI Fridays because it was just this like very, you still have the bar element there.
Yeah.
You can have. I always go back to like my, the 90s in the 90s when people just smoked everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
Remember you had to figure out if you wanted smoking or non.
They would ask you that at the door. The Zoomers don't know. They would say non-smoking, which is, by the way, it's a hilarious thing. You would be sitting 16 feet away from someone just puffing away, right?
Right.
But somehow you were in the non-smoking section. Guess what? You were sucking in that smoke just like everybody else.
And it was everywhere to the point where they wouldn't just say smoking or non-smoking. They'd say smoking or non. It was just non. And you knew what they were referencing when they said non, right? Because it was just the way that things were operating back then.
Can I just say something about cigarette smoke real quick?
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
You don't mind cigarette smoke.
No, I've never smoked. I'd never smoked a cigarette in my life.
Like,
Really.
what do you mean? If you're calling this out in specifically, you have to be a little bit. You don't
Okay.
mind it as in like
So
how people like the smell of like gasoline or something.
yeah, like so I grew up in a smoking household. There was smoke all around me all the time. I worked with my dad, who worked with a bunch of dudes, like rough dudes who smoked all the time. And so I have years of secondhand smoke in my lungs. Okay. But it got to the point where, like, when I occasionally do smell a cigarette, I don't mind it at all. And I know it's gross. Like my kids are disgusted by it. They're like, what is that smell? But I guess I've just kind of been trained to not mind it.
Takes you back to watching Lion King on your couch.
Yeah. I mean, the smell of nicotine,
The smell of nicotine just brings that nostalgia. It does for a lot of ex-cigarette smokers too. Next question at Justin White VA. When you become commish, who goes straight to jail first? Okay. The player that signals first or fourth down. So this is commish of the NFL. The player that signals first or fourth down after a play and is egregiously wrong. Okay. So, whenever they're like 2 yards short and they say first down.
Fourth down.
The defender that celebrates after a dropped or overthrown ball. Right. So they didn't really do anything, but they're celebrating.
That's
right.
Worst.
The party guest who stirs the ingredient at the center of the hummus throughout.
What? Oh, that person's going straight to prison.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't mess with the hummus. What are you doing?
anything hummus related. You mean the chickpea smoothie?
Sure. Call it what you will. I like hummus. I would tackle someone at a party who was stirring the hummus. I don't even care what they were using. Spoon, a pretzel, whatever.
What are you dipping in your hummus? Do you eat it every day? Hummus every day?
I eat hummus 5 days a week, probably.
What do you dip in? Like carrots or
carrots,
crackers?
Carrots, sometimes small pretzels, like tiny little pretzels. And then what's the other thing? Sometimes potato chips.
Potato chips with hummus, like Lay's.
This special, I forget what it's called, but it's sea salt chips, something. They're insanely expensive, but I like
kettle cooked, like thicker ones that are
kettle. That's what they are.
Yeah, kettle cooked chips are good. Okay, I can understand that because I was gonna say like Lay's are like if you were some psycho like dipping Doritos in there.
Oh God, no.
That'd be weird.
I mean, sometimes I just take a fingerful of hummus and.
Wow, you're like a child. You're like a child. Next question at Timmy_Slims. Am I petty for not wanting people from other floors in my office building using the restroom on my floor? Apparently our restrooms are the cleanest in the building and people visit from all floors to use them. I just want to go number 2 undisturbed.
Yeah, that stinks.
No pun intended.
Literally, it stinks.
Yeah, no, I think that's really relevant, especially if it's a smaller building and it's like how big is this office building? If we're talking like skyscraper and your company owns like 4 floors of it or something like that, I think that's one thing because it's clearly going to be larger floors, right?
Right.
But if this is like you're next to the bathroom and these people are in and out all the time just because it's cleaner, that's a little bit frustrating. Yeah, that's a little bit tilting.
I don't like that. I mean, has your company considered hiring an armed guard?
You're right.
To stand by and just threaten people who come even close to the bathroom. I mean, I think that's one solution.
Yeah, or have you considered hiring an armed guard to stand next to the bathroom for you?
It's a good investment if you want a peaceful poop. It's a good investment.
This next question is from at ZuperFanHQ. Loving JJ's weekly Sunday night observations thread. When can we expect to see Denny's version? A thread of observations on for whom it is now Jover. Can you explain the Jover meme to me? I honestly don't know. I'm not on politics Twitter or anything like that at all. I don't understand what it is.
Well, I'm very late on it, and it was a thread that it was a meme that would go around when Joe Biden was running for president. First when it was apparent that he was not going to win the nomination to run for president, it was Jover. And then magically he did win the nomination. And then when he was struggling in the polls in the general, it was also Jover, but then it wasn't. So
it's actually, So it's actually more hilarious that you're doing it now. than if you were to
right.
do it in 2020.
This is 3 years late, and but I don't know. I started with Cooper Kupp, where it was like like very clear when he had that second injury,
Yeah.
hamstring, that it was over, and I didn't feel like saying over, so I just posted Jover, and people seem to like it.
Okay. Next question, at Not In My Leagues. 14-team PPR best ball format. If you are tall so that the bathroom sink is low enough to urinate in, should you be allowed to use it like a urinal? And yes, my wife has already left me for bringing up this argument. Start Puka if you got him.
Well, I'm flabbergasted.
You're not peeing in sinks. If you're peeing in sinks, you're a Neanderthal. You need to not do that. You're gonna get arrested for doing that eventually.
That's so gross.
That's really gross.
Don't even
pretend. A sink is not the same thing as a toilet.
Do we know this? Do people know this? That it's not just because it's also porcelain doesn't mean
one's
it's
doing
the same
this,
thing?
right? No one's actually doing this. This is different than peeing in the shower or something. This is different.
Oh
this is way different.
This is the most disturbing thing I've heard in months.
Right. Rich in chat says just go outside at that point. So Jake says, I know people who only pee in sinks.
Is it a religious thing? What?
Billum says it uses less water.
Oh, well, hey, it'll save the world if you piss in a sink.
Someone says I only pee in my you're actually you're solving global warming by pissing in sinks. I only pee in my garage sink. I'm not a monster. Like a garage sink, I get if it's like a garage where you hang out and it's like your shop or like you're watching TV, drinking beers or something like that. That's probably different. It's more like a trough at that point, right? It's not really like a sink or it's probably more like a laundry room type sink situation instead of like a real, genuine bathroom sink.
But Matt says, have you ever been to a stadium in Philadelphia? And the answer is no, and I wouldn't if I were paid to. But I see clips from NFL games every week that make football games look like actual hell on earth. Like,
did you see what happened in New England?
No.
There was a fan that got punched and died.
Oh my God, I did see that from cardiac arrest, right?
But he hit his head apparently on the fall and died. I don't know what the actual but yes, it's a serious. It is just insanity. Like rest in peace to him, and also watch out when you're at these games because it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, we need to get back to the COVID empty stadiums is what we need to get back to.
Right. Oh, look, I grew up I've been to so many Steeler games in my life, and I always had an unbelievable time. But I also might have just been not aware or exposed to some stuff because I wasn't drinking I was a teenager and stuff like that. And so I know it's a different atmosphere whenever you're in more of that booze environment. But my gosh, if you're one of those people who have gotten in altercations and stuff, just don't go to a stadium. Don't do it. It's not good. If you know that you're like that as a drinker, either don't drink when you're there or just don't go.
I also think the internet has made people crazy enough to just start melees for no reason.
Yeah.
I blame everything on the internet, including fights at NFL stadiums. I mean, look, I'm not a prude, but I mean, at some point you gotta reconsider serving alcohol at a game.
Right.
I mean, that's what drives it.
It's rough. It's definitely driven by the alcohol stuff. Not to be prudes about this.
I drink. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I don't kill people by punching them at Patriots games.
Right.
I think that there's a difference between those things.
Right. All right, we're gonna go one more question at John Football Seed. It says, when is the appropriate time to put up Halloween decorations? My neighbor put them up on Labor Day, and I'm thinking I should file a lawsuit. They have the inflatables, but never inflate them. Can I tell you something? I have neighbors across the street, Denny, who we don't know them. We've waved. That's the equivalent. I try to meet neighbors and be friendly and stuff, and we have not met them. And every night when I go to lock my front door, I look across the street, and in their front window, Christmas all year round. It's always there.
Huh. You broke up a little bit. Did you say Christmas
I did?
stuff?
My bad. Yeah, I go and I lock my door. Okay. Can you understand me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I go and I lock the door on my front door, and I stare and I look outside, and the house across the street in their front window has a lit up Christmas tree
Oh my
all year
gosh,
round.
get out. Get out.
all year round.
Stop.
Yeah,
This
it's rough.
has got to go to the Supreme Court. Take
I
it
think
all
so
the way to
too.
the court.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Labor Day's early. I think once October hits is just when Halloween starts, like stuff starts.
Sure. Yeah, no, look, if you can possibly wait till October 1st, do that. Like, seasons are better when they are truncated, when they are condensed, okay? Seasons are much worse when they are extended beyond all human imagination. Like, this is bad. The Halloween thing and that Christmas thing is bad. Like, there's no two ways about it. I don't care what you like. I'm telling you that's bad and wrong. Okay, like there's no subjectivity here. It's bad and wrong. October 1st is the start of Halloween season.
Yeah, like part of the reason why Christmas music is good is because you're not listening to it 365.
That's right.
Right? That's why you can listen to Jingle Bell Rock and not cringe. You would cringe if you listened to it all the time.
If I had to listen to my Halloween playlist, which I love very much, if I had to listen to that all year round, I would lose my mind.
Right. I'm with you. All right, Denny, that's it for today's show. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Index of Suspicion says that's literally the premise behind Nightmare Before Christmas. And thank you for that. Yeah. At CD Carter on X and Threads. Yes, I'm still on Threads. And I'm also on Instagram, I think. So you can find me there as well. And then, find my Regression Files piece on Roto World on Wednesday morning.
I'm on Twitter at LateRoundQB. I'm on Instagram at LateRoundFF. You can find all my other stuff at LateRound.com. Denny, let's get some milkshakes. Cool.
Let's do it. Puka,
all right,
puka.
everyone. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to Living the Stream. We hope you enjoyed the internet podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes now. It won't take long, it's fast. For more fantasy football info, check out
LateRound.com and NBC Sports Edge.
Hope you come back soon as we share about